Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Kai, and today I have a very special video for you. Not only is it going to be a tutorial for this fun like spring Sanrio 3D pastel set, but it's also a collaboration. So this is the lovely Tamara at the Devil Wears Press-Ons, and she makes absolutely amazing nail art. She does 3D, she does pierced nails. Her style is just so fun and bright and like energetic, I guess is the best word I can think of. It's a little bit different than mine, which I love finding other creators who do things differently than me because that means I get to learn from them. I get to be inspired by their wonderful works of art. So definitely check her out. She also does amazing custom nail stands. That's actually how I found her channel. I believe it was Susie XXI on Instagram that was sharing a tutorial, and she had the nail stand in it, and I was like, I have to get myself one of those. And so I found Tamara's channel through that. If you are interested in custom ordering a nail stand, definitely follow her on Instagram. But she is absolutely the sweetest. We've been chatting a little bit and just, you know, talking all things nails. That's why I made this channel, was to connect with more people in this amazing community. Like you all, honestly, you guys are so nice in the comments. It really makes my day reading over things and responding to you all. Apologies if it's a little bit late. Sometimes I get busy. But yeah, we thought it would be fun to do a little bit of a collaboration. Since we both love 3D nail art, we got Kristanya's new pastel Berry Sweet Dreams collection, and we set a theme of Sanrio and spring, and otherwise it was kind of like all up to us what we wanted to include. I actually haven't even seen her set yet, so I'm really excited for her video to come out. They should both be out at the same time so that you can go from one to the other and see what we made. And speaking of Kristania, it is her birthday. We did not plan this way, but it just happened to be like a happy accident. So definitely go wish her a happy birthday. She has amazing nail products, things for 3D that I have been using basically since I started doing 3D nail art. I do have a code with her. It is GetPressed for 10% off, but I feel like at this point I'm kind of blabbing on. So let's go ahead and get into the video. I will show you step by step how I make the design, including going over my inspiration and the supplies that I use. So without too much more chit-chatting, let's get into the video. Alright, so here is my inspiration for this set. The main inspiration being this cute little Cinnamoroll toy that I actually recently purchased, and one from Sanrio. By mean one, it is a blind box series, so it's the, I believe, Rhyme Flower series. And it's just all these really fun spring Japanese inspired Sanrio dolls. I love Cinnamoroll, he's my favorite, and I was lucky enough to get him. I'll show you the actual figure later. But here is the design, the inspiration board. I am mainly focusing on using these here, the pastel clays from Kristania Neri, along with I wanted to put to use the Divox Spring collection, maybe even some of the summer colors. I recently swatched the whole entire Four Seasons collection on my channel. I will try to remember to link it up in the corner if you'd like to see that. And then I want to do one of these like fan molds that I have. Maybe not the fan, maybe more of like these fan frames here. We'll see. And then in terms of like overall aesthetic, I love the really soft blends that Janet Nails on Instagram gets. This is one of her sets here. And so I'm kind of taking inspiration from how she blends her colors together. And then over here is, oh gosh, I think it's pronounced a Kanzashi. It's a traditional hair accessory that's often made with fabric that you wear with like a kimono. And because you have our little Cinnamoroll here in his little kimono, I thought it would be cute to incorporate like a 3D version of that on the ring finger. We'll see how it goes. I'm thinking I'll do it with 3D clay. I don't know if it'll look exactly like that though. I'm not sure how to get like the fabric look. We'll see what I end up with. And then on the pinky finger, I want to include his little butterfly kite. I believe that's what it is. And maybe some 3D water elements. The fan here on the middle finger, although I'm thinking I'll put clear in the center and turn it into almost like a mirror instead. And then maybe just some sakura petals on the pinky finger with some nice flowing lines, kind of like this pattern here. It's like a traditional Japanese cherry blossom pattern. So yeah, that's what we're working with. I'm super excited. I think it's going to be very cute, very much spring. I don't normally work with blue and yellow. Like, this is a new color combo to me. So I'm really excited to try it out to see how it goes. So with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and look at the supplies that you will need. All right, so for supplies, we of course have to start off with the most important. This is the Cinnamoroll from the, I believe it's called the Rhyme or Rhythm Flower collection from Sanrio. I got mine from Miniso. We have one locally here, which is dangerous for me because if you've been around the channel, you'll know that I do enjoy blind boxes and opening them up. So he is the star of the show, but the supporting actor is Krisanya's new Berry Sweet Dreams collection. These are her 3D clays. They really are like a true clay texture, which is why I like them so much. I picked these up myself, though I do have a code with her, so it is Get Pressed to save 10%. But we'll be focusing on 3 colors: Bubblegum, which is this super bright pastel pink, Banana Pudding, which is more of a cool toned pastel yellow, and then Cotton Sky, which is the perfect pastel blue. I will be also using her white from her classic collection. These are the OG clays that she released. And then for other supplies, I will need a matte top coat. This is the Divox Zero Matte. I like it as just like a basic matte top coat. It's also good for chrome. You'll need a thick top coat, so I'm using my favorite Yogo Zombie top. You'll also want a thinner top coat for coating some of the 3D elements, so I'm opting for the Mayo glass top, another one of my favorites. And then you'll want some sort of rhinestone glue. I'm trying to use up the last of my IV Fix gel in the tube because this tube, unfortunately, I think was defective and quite messy. And then the color gels we'll be using are from the Divox 4 Seasons collection, which is back in stock at Sweetie Nail Supply currently. But I'm using a variety from the spring and summer sets. So this is number 44 from the spring collection. And then this one is number 52 from the summer collection. Spring and summer are definitely my favorites when it comes to the 4 Seasons set. And then I decided last minute to add some glitter. So these are from the Yogurt Gel Korea in the Mood Season 1, I believe. It is glitter number 7 and glitter number 8. So the blue and the yellow from that collection. And then in other decor, I did end up using a couple of these sakura petals. I just got these off of Temu, and then this mix had some pink butterflies that I wanted to incorporate. I will try to find the links to those. They are quite old, so I'm not sure I'll be able to, but if I can, I'll put it down below. This one here is a 3D nail mold. It is for various fan shapes. And then I swear I use this product in almost every set, but it is my Jinbei non-white crazy top thick. It's just amazing for 3D elements on the surface of nails. And believe it or not, this is my first jar, so it's, I believe, 40 grams. You get a lot. And for sculpting, I'll be using my Krisanyo sculpting tools. And for painting, you do want some liner brushes. These Dayami liner brushes are some of my favorites because they're so thin. And then a spatula for grabbing the 3D gels, 3D clays. This here is my MPA art palette, one of my staples when it comes to hand-painted details. You can get this one, I believe, off of Hey Nails. No code there, unfortunately, but there are plenty on the internet. And that's basically it for the supplies, so let's go ahead and get into the nail art. But before that, I did want to show you the stand that I had ordered from Tamra. So she makes these awesome custom stands. They come with 10 of the holders. I just have 5 up here because I only do 5 fingers generally. But I asked for gold, white, luxury, and she definitely delivered. It's full of like charms and pearls and glitters, just super cute. I will definitely be ordering another one on her next drop. I think I'm gonna go with like a pink for that one, like a pink, blue, purple. But here I am just prepping the nail tips, and as a reminder, like always, please make sure that you're doing research on the products you are using. Gel nails at home is a great way to be creative and probably save some money, but there are certain dangers that can come with it, including developing an allergy to gel products. So always make sure that you are handling your materials properly, you know what you're using, and that you're taking the necessary precautions, like wearing gloves and avoiding contact with uncured gel as much as possible. So once your tips are prepped, it's time to paint them, and I'm going in with those colors from the Divock Four Seasons collection, and I'm starting with the yellow, and for the thumb, I'm going to be doing kind of like a slanted ombre. So I lay down the first layer of yellow, starting with the lighter color, and then before curing that, I go in with that blue. It is stunning. I absolutely love this blue, and I'm actually just blending them together with the brush from the bottle itself. And then I did recently get this Jello gradation brush on recommendation from Hope from Nails Box of Hope, and so I thought this would be the perfect time to try it out. It has like a flat angled head that makes it easy to blend two tones together, and I did like it. The only problem was that I was getting a couple bubbles from it. I think I was just being maybe too aggressive with my patting, so I will have to get used to that, practice with it a little bit more. But I do go in for 2 layers of the yellow and actually 3 total layers of the blue, since the blue color is a bit more sheer. Each time blending them together with the actual brush from the bottle, then going in with that gradation brush from Jello. I don't usually pair yellow with blue. In fact, I'm not actually a huge fan of yellow on its own. I do like it when paired with other colors though. So this set was definitely a bit of a challenge for me, a step outside of my comfort zone, so to speak, just because these are 2 colors that I don't normally gravitate to. And then to just make sure that those colors are extra seamless and blended, I did go in with my favorite blending option, which is the Nail Bio blending ombre brush. I believe it's number 6. And then for the last layer, I just laid on some more of that blue color to amp up that one because it has more of a jelly finish. So I cured the layer underneath, added the blue, and then just blended that out with that ombre brush from Nail Bio and gave that a full cure, and that nail is done. For the pointer finger, I'm doing an ombre again, but this time just with that blue from the summer collection. It is just so stunning. It's like the perfect sky blue, but really sheer and jelly-like. Here I'm trying out that gradation brush again, and I did start liking it more. Once I got the hang of it and figured out that if you pat too quickly, you're gonna get bubbles, I was able to really seamlessly blend together the blue into the clear. Then again, the real test will be with more of like an opaque polish, because jelly polishes, luckily, are very easy to ombre. And it was kind of pointless anyway to try to get a nice seamless blend, because later on I do go in and add some glitter over the clear. But at this point, I did not know I would be doing that, so I was trying really hard to get a nice smooth blend, and I think both tools, the gradation brush and my old standby, this one here, the Nail Bio ombre brush, both of them worked really well in this case. So right after finishing that ombre, I decided I might want a little bit of glitter, a little bit of sparkle here to add some interest. So I go in with that blue from the Yogurt Gel Korea in the Mood for Love collection, and that one I am just blending out with the ombre brush. I find that ombre brushes are great for grabbing glitter because it's not going to drag too much of the glitter around. And then the middle finger process is honestly the exact same as the thumb, except for this time I'm putting the blue on the top and then the yellow towards the free edge. These syrup polishes are super easy to blend, it's super easy to work with. I honestly love Divock's syrup formula. I think it's so nice and smooth. And they did recently announce their next collection, which unfortunately for me is another cat eye set. Unfortunately, because of course that means I have to buy it. I'm obsessed with magnetic gels, with cat eye gels, and this one is like a gold toned shimmery cat eye gel, and so I will definitely be trying that one out. So here I'm just blending those two colors together, just like on the thumbnail, except for this time I'm kind of using both the Jello gradation brush and that Nail Bio ombre brush, and honestly, I think these two pair together really well, and you get a nice seamless blend out of both of them. These remind me of some sort of drink. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I believe there's like a blue and yellow drink. If anyone knows what I'm talking about, comment it down below. I think it has like, what is it called? Curacao in it? I don't know. I'll be honest, I don't drink much. I'm kind of a homebody. I like staying at home, going out occasionally with the boyfriend, but otherwise I like being cozy. For the ring finger, I'm just ombreing together that yellow color with that glitter. This one is the yellow from In the Mood for Love collection. Honestly, these were perfect for this set because both the yellow and blue have these like blue to yellow shifting glitters in them, which just complemented the design very well. And then on the pinky finger, I'm just doing the same as the pointer finger and painting a blue to clear ombre with that glitter at the end. Sorry that some of this is going to be out of frame or like close to out of frame. I was playing around with a new angle. Honestly, I don't even know if it was worth it. I feel like you can't even tell when I am recording, so I might just go back to the old straight up and down shot. But let me know if you notice a difference. I think it just makes it worse because I'm regularly slipping out of frame. But those are the base colors done, and now we can move on to the 3D nail art. So we are starting off with the Berry Sweet Dreams collection from Ksania, and look at this box. It is stinking adorable. Here are all of the ingredients and the directions for storage. I did do a full unboxing of this in my most recent haul video of like new Korean products and 3D products from Ksania, so definitely check that out if you're interested. In this video, I'll really only be focusing mostly on the blue and the yellow, and I end up using the pink as well. But first we need to make our Cinnamorolls, so of course we have to grab the white. And I'm just taking out enough for Cinnamoroll's head and shaping that with my gloves and a little disposable palette. Now, I had seen people doing their 3D work on like a nail tip, and then it just pops right off after. I don't know the secret to that because I tried that here in this video, and I don't know if it's the clay itself or just the nail tips that I was using. It definitely did not pop off super easily, so I would not recommend this method. Just do it on a palette or maybe even on a nail form. That way you can easily remove it. For Cinnamoroll's ears, they're actually pretty easy. You just want to roll out a tear shape, and then you attach the narrow end to the head. I smooth everything out with a brush dipped in a little bit of isopropyl alcohol. I know she actually has her own like blending liquid. I haven't gotten to try it yet. I will probably order it next time I place an order to see what it's all about. But for some movement, I wanted to do one of his ears kind of like flopping upwards as if maybe he was dancing. So that's what I'm going for here. Between each shape, I would recommend curing, at least flash curing. That way you can ensure that the shapes that you're happy with stay that way in case you need to take something off or fix it. Then I'm just going in for his body here, and I pulled out the silicone tool so I could get the perfect shape, the perfect blend. A brush will smooth things out, but in order to really manipulate the shape as a whole, you'll want to use silicone tools. And then it was time for his teeny tiny little feetsies. These were both endearing and frustrating to make because they were so small. Props to nail artists who make these super teeny tiny sculptures. I mean, I do 3D nail art, but I feel like I'm not often making incredibly miniature things. And this was definitely a bit of a challenge to get his feet the exact way I wanted them. But I just took it slow and made sure that all of my tools were wet with a little bit of isopropyl alcohol. You don't want to use too much because then you can make the clay too soft if it absorbs some of the moisture from the alcohol. But you also don't want your tools bone dry, otherwise the clay will stick a little bit. Overall though, I was happy with how his little legs turned out. They're very adorable. And then we're going to use Banana Pudding, which is a really unique yellow pastel shade. Usually I feel like the yellows are a little bit more warm toned, but this is a really nice cool toned yellow, and it was absolutely perfect for the figurine that I was trying to replicate. So I flattened out a section of clay and then cut away about as much as I wanted. And then here I'm just patting it onto the figure in a thin layer, just like you would drape, somebody in a cloth. So this is going to be his kimono. If you have some spots that need more clay, just add them. Again, pat them in, make sure that it's all seamlessly blended. I honestly knew that this was an ambitious design going in, and I probably could have just painted on the kimono, but I had really sold myself on the idea of making his actual clothes. So I was happy with how the body was turning out. I just added the little notches in the bottom. And then my solution for the arms, because I did not think that I would be able to make his arms and then wrap them in the clay like I did the body. So I just took some of the yellow clay and I kept it solid and I formed it into the sleeve shape, the initial sleeve shape. And then I took the cone silicone tool with the tip and I kind of pushed it into the clay before it was cured to hollow out a sleeve shape. And honestly, this worked better than I thought it would. Overall, I'm pretty pleased with how Cinnamoroll came out. Here, I'm just deepening the sleeve and ensuring that the actual fabric doesn't look too bulky. And then I'm smoothing together the connection points with the brush, wet with some of that isopropyl alcohol. And now I'm just making sure I have enough room in that sleeve for his little arm. The next one was honestly more difficult because the ear was kind of getting in the way, so perhaps if you do end up trying this, maybe do his clothing before adding the ears to his head, just so that you have more room to work with. But once those were done and fully cured, I added just the little arms, and this was super easy. I just put a little bit of the white clay in each sleeve, smoothed it out, made sure that it looked like it was coming from the sleeves themselves, and you have a cute little dancing Cinnamoroll in a kimono. Now, I heard somewhere, I think it was from IFW Babylon, that if you work on a clear tip, you can also cure the underside by just sticking the tip in the lamp. And I did that and it worked really well. I think maybe it worked a bit too well because then I could not for the life of me pry this little figurine off of the nail tip and I was worried about breaking him. Unfortunately, we did have a slight casualty, but then I just glued on the charm to the actual nail itself. I'm ensuring that I get a little bit of the rhinestone glue on all of the little appendages just to make sure that they're nice and secure. And even though sculpting on the nail tip meant that I lost an arm, he was perfectly curved to the surface of the nail. I reattached his other arm and gave everything a cure. So now I wanted to add the little transparent butterfly that's on his ear. So I went in with that pink from the summer collection. This is number 52. And I just painted on a disposable palette the butterfly wings. If I were to do this again, I'd probably recommend doing it on a silicone surface and not this plasticky surface because there was a little bit of bleeding, which made the shape not quite as defined as I would have liked. But I think the effect is cute. So I gave those a little flash cure and then a full cure on my lamp, and I added some of that IV fix gel to Cinnamoroll's head to affix the little wings in like a bow. I'm just realizing now that I gave him the Hello Kitty treatment with a little ear bow, but I'll make a confession here. I like Hello Kitty and I love Sanrio. I grew up with Sanrio, but I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Hello Kitty herself. I very much prefer Cinnamoroll, my melody. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just because I'm so used to her, but Cinnamoroll will always be my favorite. And here I'm going in with that short liner brush from Dayami and my MPA art palette, and I'm just painting on the kimono details. I was trying to replicate the figurine Maybe not exactly, but as close as possible. So I'm going in with sort of like an aqua blue color, and I'm painting the insides of the sleeves that color, as well as outlining the kimono with that color. I love my MPA art palette. I love that it has so many color options pre-mixed. Like this one here is just straight from the palette. I didn't have to custom mix anything, and the polishes are really pigmented. I will say I do think the D-Gel paint pots, those are slightly more pigmented. However, you don't get quite as many color options with the D-Gel paint pots. This one, I did have to go over some of those details with 2 layers just to make sure it had proper opacity. And then I couldn't forget his little collar, I think is what it is, just like a little decorative collar. And so I added that along with the little bow in the center. And honestly, I am super pleased with how this one turned out. I really wasn't sure how the clothing situation would be, how I'd figure out those kimono sleeves, but overall, I think he looks pretty good. His mouth is maybe a little big. If there's one thing that I would go back and change, I would probably make his mouth a little bit smaller. But for now, it will have to do because I finished this design literally at 6 a.m. on Saturday, and I had to edit the whole video, get it posted in time for Sunday. So I lived with it, and I added his little rosy cheeks, and our Cinnamoroll is finished. So now for his little butterfly kite situation, I'm going in and mixing up some of that Jinbi Crazy Thick top with that pink from the summer collection just to give it a thicker consistency and sheer out the color a little bit. Unfortunately, this also did add some bubbles to the clear gel, so next time I would just be a little bit more careful with my mixing. And then this is the Sweetie Nail Supply liner number 1 brush, and I'm just painting out the wing shapes on that same palette. I'm doing the wings separately so that I can connect them at an angle in the middle and they'll be 3D. Once I'm happy with the overall shape, I will give it a flash cure and then move on to the other set. In order to make sure that they have an even connection point though, I'm just taking a silicone tool and giving it that like a flat edge. And then the other set of wings is the exact same process. Draw out the shape, make sure that their connection point is a straight edge, and then give it a cure. For the painted details, I'm returning to that MPA art palette, and I'm going in with the yellow just around the edges to give it that nice contrasting outline. I do really like the combination of pink and yellow, even if I'm not a huge fan of yellow in general. And now I'm realizing that with the blue in this set, we have kind of like a CYMK color theme going on, which honestly is maybe why I like the color combos so much. They do really just fit together well. And after curing the yellow, I'm going in and painting some darker pink details, just like on the actual figurine. These ones just aren't quite as detailed because I don't have as much real estate to work with. But once I'm done painting those details, I give it a nice flash cure and then a full cure in my big nail lamp. And then I peel off those wings and I attach them to the nail itself with some of that Jinbi IV Fix Gel. Now, initially I had placed this in the center of the nail, and then I realized later on I wanted those like trailing tails. And so I had to peel it off the nail. Luckily, it came off in one piece, and I was able to re-glue that down to the cuticle side in order to make room for those tails. And moving on to the middle finger, now I'm using a 3D mold to create the little like fan mirror shape. I initially decided to go in with that same summer color. However, I just felt like it was too dark, and so what I ended up doing was mixing together the leftovers from the butterfly that I just made with some white painting gel and more of that summer color. I initially wanted a marble, but I overmixed this. I should have left it at that stage, and so I ended up kind of with just a plain pink, but that's okay. With silicone molds, you really want to work slowly and ensure that you get paint in every nook, every crevice, even if you hate those words. but stretching the mold out will just help you get paint in every surface. That way you have a nice smooth finish. And once I had that first layer done, I gave it a full cure in the lamp and then moved on to the clear. So to create a mirror, I'm using the thick Yogo Zombie top gel and just painting that over the entire shape. The mold itself is built so that you can do this, so that you can create a frame and then the back of the frame. Here I'm just using a liner brush to ensure that that gel reaches out to all of the edges. I let it self-level and then fully cure it, and you have a teeny tiny little mirror fan thing. There was a little bit of extra clear gel there, so I was just breaking that off. And then I do go in and I top coat over the actual frame itself with the Mayo glass top. I just want a super thin layer here to protect the details. I give that a full cure and our little mirror is all done. So on to the ring finger, and I mentioned this in the inspiration, but I had wanted to replicate the look of fabric Kanzashi. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm probably butchering it, but they are these decorative hair ornaments that are often worn with kimonos, and I thought it would be perfect for this set. Originally, I thought I'd maybe do a blue, but then I thought I would go pink. There I was just comparing the two different pinks from Chrysania. I did end up mixing the bubblegum pink from the pastel collection with a little bit of the white just because I wanted a lighter toned pink. The neat thing about these clays is that they do mix really well, and then there's no bubbling because they're not like a jelly consistency, they're a clay texture. And then I roll it out into a log and try to divide it into 5 even sections. That way the petals are all about the same size. Once I've got them divided, I roll them into balls and then I work on sculpting the actual petals. So here I'm just using that cone-shaped silicone tool, wet with a little bit of isopropyl alcohol, and creating the indent of the petal and then bringing the sides to a point in the middle. Once I'm happy with the petal shape, I'll give it a flash cure. And the way that I look at flowers is almost like a star, and so I'll start with the petal at the point of the star at the top, and then I'll do the 2 on the bottom. And all this means is it just leaves me room to ensure that I can fit all of the petals in. Even doing this method, I had a little bit of a struggle with some of them, but that's okay. They all made it on the nail. And then to give it that characteristic sakura shape, I took a little spatula and I just made that indent on the free edge of the petal before curing it. And then to make the falling petal effect, I am taking some fishing line. I think I just got this from Walmart, and I'm curling it by kind of adding tension between my fingers, and it just makes it kind of curl up on itself. And then I do take that blue and I roll it out into a log shape, again separating this into 4 equal sections. I wanted 4 petals for the first strand, and so I'm just making teeny tiny little miniature petals with the same method we just used. This time though, I'm not bothering to add the little notch at the free edge. For each one, I am going to flash cure them and then fully cure all of them together at the end. I don't know if this was the best approach, honestly, to this design, but it's what I came up with. So I take some IV Fix gel and I stick down the fishing line. That way it's anchored somewhere. And then I add little dots of the glue along the fishing line and just place the cured petals on top of those glue dots. And then I cure them to that fishing line. I think there's probably a better way to secure these, maybe if I were to lay the petals down and then adhere the fishing line to the petals. That might work, because what happened was there was some glue seepage, and so when I peeled this off of the palette after curing everything, I had just some extra pieces of glue that were sticking out from the petals. You can see that here. So I'm sure with some experimenting there's probably a better method, but anyways, I glued that to the flower and then made a second strand with only 2 petals, and I also attached that one. Very much inspired by Komachi doll on Etsy. I think I had their picture on my Inspo board, but they make beautiful traditional hair clips, Japanese style hairpins. And that's basically all of the 3D elements made. Now it's time to just pull everything together and add the finishing touches. So I'm going in with that liner brush, the long liner this time, on the thumbnail, and I decided I wanted to add a pattern to the background that was feeling a little bit plain. You might have seen me do these sort of like water lines on other sets before. I absolutely love how they look, and so I just added those here to the thumb finger. Oh my gosh, I just said thumb finger. You can probably tell I'm pretty tired while doing this voiceover. I don't want to admit what time it is right now, but I add my nice curved lines and then I use a dotting tool to add some little flowers. Before curing the gel, I just take a liner brush and I pull that liner brush through those dots to the center. This just creates that petal shape and is honestly probably the most simple way to hand paint a flower. I don't even know if these were necessary. I think I could have left the lines the way they were, but it is just a cute little detail. I was trying to replicate that like sakura pattern of the silk for kimonos that I had in my inspo pictures. Once those were cured though, I give everything a nice thick top coat using that Yogo Zombie top. I do avoid the Cinnamoroll because I want him to be matte, and so the only thing on him that I paint is the little butterfly bow. And that one I was just very careful to go in with a liner brush so as not to get any of that top coat on Cinnamoroll himself. And then I decided I wanted to add a little bit of a water element, so I just take my Jinbi Crazy Thick and I add some little water droplets on the nail. Was this necessary? Probably not, but hey, I was going all out for this set, so I thought might as well add a little bit of extra texture. And then I'm going in with the Devox Zero Matte, and I am just matte top coating over Cinnamoroll, being very careful not to disturb that top coat underneath. And so any spaces that I felt were too difficult to reach, I used a liner brush, and then I gave him a full cure, and he is done. For the pointer finger, I wanted to give the butterfly those trailing tails that the figurine has, and so I used the water droplet method with a sparkly gel, that yogurt gel Korea one that we used earlier, and so I just paint it on some fishing line. I let it sort of bead up on itself and then give it a cure. I love this method for adding details. I think it's just so versatile. I made 2 strands and I forgot to show it, but I did top coat them with the Mayo glass top as well. And then I'm going in with my zombie top and I am covering the entire surface of the nail because it's not been fully top coated yet. I do like using a thick top coat for ombre nails because it really blends together any lumps and bumps that might have been created when you make that ombre. And then of course I make sure to get the butterfly, both the top and bottom, with a pretty thick layer to add strength. I'll admit the set is very much more of like a decorative set. I probably would not wear it out and about because it has so many 3D elements. And in particular 3D elements that can snag on things like this butterfly here. But I'm just attaching the tails with that Jinbi Ivy gel and flash curing them into place before giving the nail a full cure. But I think this nail came out super cute and it really makes me want to experiment more with that dewdrop technique with the fishing line and maybe some solid colored gels or like syrup gels with more color to them. For the middle finger, I'll be adding some of these little sakura petals. I love these sequins. I actually just ordered some more from Sweetie Nail Supply because they have a mix with like blue and yellow and I think green in it. You could probably get them off of Ally. I was just placing an order anyways. So I put the little mirror where I thought I would want it on the nail, and then I add around it little dots of glue so that I can plan out where I want those petals to go. I add the petals and then I cure them into place before going in with a pretty liberal amount of top coat just to smooth everything over. Again, use a thicker top coat if you are embedding things, if you're going over any sort of texture that you really want to smooth over. I even ended up adding a bit of excess gel in the center of the nail just to create that nice like rounded apex. I kind of let that self-level and then turn the nail upside down to have gravity help me naturally draw that towards the apex. And now I'm going back in with that top coat and I'm laying down quite a thick layer again towards the center because I'm actually going to use this to affix the mirror. So before curing any of it, I just place that mirror on the surface of the nail and notice how it really seamlessly blends into that top coat. I didn't want to glue it on just in case the differing types of gel would create any sort of disturbance. I wanted that mirror nice and clear. So I guess it's not really a mirror. I guess it's more just like a glass. I don't know what I was going for. I just like the look of the clear center. But I felt like it needed one more thing, so I took those little pink sequins, one of which is a full sakura blossom, and so I glued it on to the edge of the mirror. Once it was glued down, I did go in with top coat and just top coat over that sequin just to give it strength and protect it a little bit. And I really like the final results. I think it looks super cute. I love the clarity. And I could have stopped there, but something in me said I needed more, and so I added some 3D swirls. Unfortunately, I didn't film this part very well, but here are the final results for this nail. For the ring finger, I was feeling like the center of that flower was looking pretty bare, and I didn't want to add any like metallic elements. Usually I would fill the center of a flower with like some caviar beads, so instead I made some of my own using the yellow, the banana color from the Berry Sweet Dreams. So I matte top coat the flower for protection and adhesion, and then I cured just a couple small little balls of the clay, added them to the center, and then cured everything together. And then I just went in with that zombie top and I gave the entire surface of the nail a good top coat. I did have to move the little flower fall petal strands, but I just held them out of the way. And we are finally to the pinky nail. So I'm taking one of those little butterfly sequins and I'm bending it on the center. My thought was to do like a butterfly landing on the center of a petal on some water. And so I top coat the entire surface of the nail, adding a little bit extra in the center to build that apex. Once that's self-leveled, I give it a full cure and then I glued down the butterfly in the center of the nail. Once it's attached, I did go in with a little bit of that summer pink color that we were using before, and I'm just going to paint that in the center of the nail to create like a nice little ombre effect. I did this in a couple layers to really get a nice blend, and I think it just added a little bit of depth that this little sequin here was missing. Overall, I actually really liked the effect here, and so I flash cured the polish into place and then top coated everything, including the butterfly, to really seal it in, and then gave it all a full cure. And even though I put down a pretty thick layer of top coat over that butterfly, it still stuck out quite a bit and probably isn't strong enough to withstand daily wear. So again, this design is more for the fun of it, more for the spectacle. Maybe you could get away with it on an evening out. And then to finish off this look, I'm adding some water ripples with that Jinbei Crazy Thick and the liner brush. Gave that a full cure and we're actually done with this design. Alright, so that was the video. I hope you all enjoyed the tutorial. I honestly am really pleased with how this set came out. Usually when I go to bed at, 5, 6 a.m. after spending 7 hours on a design, I go to bed and I hate it. Surprisingly, I did not hate this one. There is, the one nail that I think I might tweak in the future if I were to revisit this design. But otherwise, I was honestly pretty pleased with how everything turned out. Of course, having good quality clays to work with always makes a difference, so highly recommend checking out Chris Sonya's products. I happen to know she puts so much work in behind the scenes as well to give you guys high quality. She's recently upgraded her packaging to be even more cute for her like older classic collection and everything. So check out Chris Sonya. I will have her link down below. And of course, huge thank you to Tamara for agreeing to this collaboration. I think it was really fun. I do really want to, maybe do some more of these in the future. I should have a little bit more time to focus on content once I go part-time at my full-time job next year. So yeah, I'm really excited for things to come. Let me know down in the comments below who maybe you would like to see a collaboration with. Who are some of your favorite nail content creators? I just love that this community is so supportive and so welcoming. And I haven't had like any really negative experiences with anyone. And so I just want to continue to build those connections and bring people together over a love of nail art, because that's what I love. I love nail art and I love sharing that love with all of you. Speaking of which, if you have Discord and you would like to join mine, that will be linked down below. Also linked will be everything I used in this video today. If you want to try any of the elements yourself, recreate the design, I would love to see it. And honestly, it makes my day when I see people do either elements of my design or recreate them. It just, I don't know, I have no problem with people, you know, recreating my designs. But I really do. I love seeing what you all make, and I think it's so kind and so sweet when you guys take inspiration from me. So definitely tag me if you ever do. I really appreciate everyone being here. If you are not subscribed, please consider doing so. I do nail art tutorials like this. I do Korean gel hauls, informational videos occasionally, and I also have a second channel. So that channel is more for like lifestyle vlog type stuff. I plan on adding a lot more there over the summer when I have time. But yeah, I appreciate everybody being here today. I hope you all are having a wonderful weekend, and I will see you all next time. Bye.